And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to Fresh Air Podcast, man. It's Money Monday. We got Noble Gold in the house. We're going to talk about the markets. Let's get into it.
Let's go. All right,
we are back. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Air Podcast, man. It's Money Monday. We are going a bit sooner than usual. We got a special guest in the house, man. We got Noble Gold in the house. We're going to be talking about gold, precious metals, the markets. Obviously, I think this is the first interview we've done so far since the new administration came in.
Yes, with Trump in office.
So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Good to be here. Excited. I know you guys were at the inauguration, so I'm sure that was exciting to be out there.
Yes, it was a lot going on over there, especially a lot of gold talk as well from Trump.
Yeah, I heard. Well, you heard some speeches that I don't think the general public heard because you were in some VIP events. But yeah, no, I know he's been a big fan of gold, and he likes alternative currencies. Been talking a lot about crypto. But, you know, no president has really acknowledged gold in a long time. So we'll see if he's the first one to really talk about gold. And I hope put a little gold in the reserves, add a little gold like some of these other countries have been doing for a long time. So
let me try in his impersonation.
Okay.
Oh, you know, America's back and the gold supply is in a surplus. The biggest we ever had in history.
Fake news.
I was trying.
I mean, he said it's the golden age. That's the one thing in the inauguration I did hear him say. And, I mean, I think, you know, when you look at, you know, he's looking at get us back to where we were, make us a strong country.
Yeah.
And he's come out firing the first few weeks in office, doing a lot of things. And, you know, I sent that plane to Colombia, and, you know, he's using this tariff angle to hopefully, you know, push some of his agenda through. And so I have some ideas about how that's going to affect the economy, but yeah, no, it's, you know, beginning of the year, gold's still, you know, trading close to 2,700, silver's just below $30 an ounce, right around $30 an ounce. So, everything on the precious metals side has been currently just kind of holding firm. But there's a lot of potential, based on some of the things that we're anticipating to happen this year. And yeah, today we had a massive pullback in the stock market. And I've been saying this for a long time, that the stock market, most of the wealth it's too narrow. There's just too few companies pushing the wealth in the stock market. It's basically 7 tech companies. So NVIDIA today, you know, there's a company that comes out with a ChatGPT alternative, and they, you know, come out, people are testing it. Looks like the product works. I tested it today. It worked great for me for the things that I, you know, for marketing and some of the things I gave it some prompts.
Yeah.
And it costs to run that product. It costs 3% of what ChatGPT costs, because ChatGPT has all these expensive computers and infrastructure. And this new one, it doesn't require many of those things. It's much more cost effective. So they released it for free. And this one premise, this one idea pulled down the whole stock market. I mean, NVIDIA was down 17%, but the whole stock market was pulled down. And that's, you know, that would never happen 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But when you have a lot of the wealth built into these 7 companies, you know, one of them having a big major hit or looking like they're not going to be as strong can bring the whole, you know, stock market down. And that's what happened today. So that was a pretty interesting development. And then obviously coming into this week is Jerome Powell. There's a, you know, Federal Reserve meeting where he's going to talk about, you know, rates, if they're going to do any rate cuts or not do rate cuts. So there's a lot of anticipation about that meeting that's supposed to happen this week. So yeah, there's a lot of things potentially could happen in this administration. Tariffs are a big conversation. He's been talking about it for months and months.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just look at it from an investor point of view and say, like, well, how does that affect me? How does that affect investors? And, tariffs day to day will just make a lot of the goods that we buy more expensive. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And I think the confusion people have is they think if something is shipped over here from China, they think China pays the tax. And that's not the way that it works. Basically, if you ship an item, if we have a 10% tariff from items from China and you ship it here in the US, once it gets here to the US, you're going to pay a 10% tariff to the US government. So it's the importer that's going to pay the tax. And then they're going to pass that 10% on to the consumer. So, so we'll see if he does move through some of these things. He's talking about doing it with Mexico. He's talking about doing it with Canada. If he does it with Mexico, 80% of the silver that we get here in the US comes from Mexico. So if he does a tariff on Mexico, that means silver, our costs on raw silver would go up by 25%, and on many other items too. So there's a lot of trickle down that could happen with tariffs, and it could make things more expensive. And I believe it would increase inflation, at least in the short term.
So for somebody watching for the first time, I guess with Trump being in office, what has it done for gold and silver in general?
Yeah, I mean, everything's held firm. Nothing has really changed in the gold and silver market. Gold's exactly where it was, maybe up $20 since he got inaugurated. Silver's about basically the same. Right after the election, there was the Trump bump in crypto and in the stock market, and gold and silver did pull back a little bit temporarily. But once it hit a certain number, the buying jumped back in, and so the market's held pretty firm. So, I think what people need to look at is, where are people investing and what are they looking at for this year? And I think that definitely the stock market is volatile. The people don't know where it's going to go. I don't think there's the same level of confidence. And I think the 10-year treasury, the bond market is saying that. I mean, the 10-year treasury today is the same price it was in 2008. So if you look at that, and everybody remembers what happens after 2008, we had a full stock market collapse, obviously credit crunch, everything, all the problems we had in 2008, 2009. So the bond market is saying, like, we're still going to have problems. We're still going to have inflation. So even though things, there's a lot of optimistic ideas, we still need to get through some hurdles here. And there's a lot of things that he's going to have to get through to make it better for us day to day. So yeah, there hasn't been much of a push yet, but most of the people out there that are in the precious metals world think gold's going to do okay, but silver, and I know you guys like silver's going to do great. Yeah. I'm projecting a 14 to 18% uptick this year. And that would be if we didn't have any kind of black swan events. Just on the conservative side, I would say that's what they're sort of targeting, which I think will probably outpace gold this year. Just price is right. The demand is really high. Solar panels, electric vehicles. It's everything I get into in my book. Silver is the new oil. I talk about these things in detail. But I really dive into the opportunity in silver. And it, similar like you guys, when you guys see an opportunity, you pounce on it. My book is really geared. The idea is that silver isn't going to replace oil. The idea is that silver, the commodity, the opportunity today is like oil was in the late 1800s, that basically the opportunity is there. And everybody remembers in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that's where a lot of the incredible wealth was built in this country. I mean, the Gettys, for example, the Getty family made so much wealth that there's still people living off that wealth today, right? For the oil business, and later in the real estate business. But overall, like, that's some of the things that I really dive into in my book. is that I just think there's just an incredible opportunity. And I think we're going to go through a super cycle in terms of assets. I think things that are on paper, things that don't actually have utility are not going to do well. And things that have utility and things that are necessities are really going to thrive in this next economy. And those are some of the things that I dive into my book, which just came out a few weeks ago.
And it's on Amazon, right? Could we bring it up on the screen?
It's on Amazon. Yeah. Quick read. Really just, get into some of the fundamentals of silver. And then I just give some ideas of, how to structure wealth. The way that I've structured wealth is in an alternative way. I haven't gone the normal route of, just putting everything in the stock market and, just buying certain assets. I really believe that you need assets like gold and silver, and you need to have businesses to protect yourself. There's the only way I believe that you can create long-term wealth, because I think a lot of the assets, the old assets, real estate and stocks are overpriced. And I think we're going to go through a real problem over the next 5 to 10 years in some of the traditional assets. So I talk about going the alternative route in my book. And that's really how I've built the majority of my wealth, is not going the normal path, the kind of the safer path, and just finding opportunities that you can create, super cycle kind of wealth that can last a long time and through generations.
While I was in DC, I met a guy that was actually very close to Elon. He spoke about AI becoming a prominent thing, especially this year. And silver is going to be definitely a demand because AI uses silver in certain components.
Correct.
So you mentioned silver is a new gold basically for people that want to get into investing right now. So that's a very good point, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, AI is obviously the future in so many different ways. But there's components to that. Like it just can't survive on its own. So you have to have silver as a component of AI. And obviously they're saying in the next 10 years, it'll be a 14 or $15 trillion industry.
Yeah.
So it is exciting to have silver as a part of that growth story. But pretty much anything we're doing today that is long-term, the new ideas, silver plays a big part of it. So you got solar panels, electric vehicles, all the electrical components that we're talking about today, silver paste and all those technology. Mesh is used in a lot of medical devices. So it really touches and feels a lot of industries. And that's why I sort of make the comparison that it's similar to oil, because oil is like that too. It's so rampant in our life. And it's such a big part. I don't know if you guys seen that new show Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. He kind of talks about how oil it's not something you can ever completely get away from. But I do think that silver is going to replace some of the uses, and I make my case for that analysis in my book.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, anything? Oh, yeah. No, we can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
One sec.
That's fine.
Let's do chats for now, Bills, if you don't mind. And then we'll get into tariffs and some more stuff about gold. One sec here. First chat, Bills? Cool. One sec, guys.
Test. All right, I think my mic is good now.
Good to go?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. All right, fresh updates, WFNF. Appreciate that, man.
Shout out to you, bro.
Thank you. And then Nav Singh says, silver is trash. Even Robert Kiyosaki said he sold all his silver for BTC, buy Bitcoin. What's your response to that?
I'm shocked by. Is that an actual clip of Robert Kiyosaki, or is that?
It's kind of interesting that he says that, because when we interviewed Robert Kiyosaki, he was actually pro silver.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that's an actual clip.
Yeah, Nav, we actually had Robert Kiyosaki on, and he literally said that, if things ever go down and, the world's ending, like silver is actually what you want to have. So,
yeah, that's why I've seen some of those clips, but I have a hard time believing that he says that. I mean, he owns silver mines. So I don't know. I don't know. I unless maybe something happened. You got hit on the head, but he's been a silver bull for a long time, and I'm surprised that anyone is gold and silver. I've seen him in thousands of interviews. He's always talking about gold and silver. But listen, I get it. I mean, it's the bull run in Bitcoin is there. But I still don't understand. At the end of the day, I understand a lot of cryptos. I look at cryptos. I have a crypto trading platform. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin, what utility? That's what it comes down to. And silver does have utility. So I as much as I love speculative assets and there's been a lot of money made, there will be a lot of money made in crypto and Bitcoin and a lot of those coins. You still have to have other things. You got to be diversified. I don't think all in on any investment is a good strategy. I remember that crypto winter where people were devastated and, people were, couldn't survive. And they, people that were living off crypto, they were down 80, 90% in some of their cryptos. So I think anyone can have a change of heart, but I don't know if you could just have all your eggs in that one basket and feel comfortable. Because I do think that at the end of the day, it's markets change, perceptions change. And even with gold and silver, I'm diversified. I have other assets too. So it's hard for me to believe that anyone like him that's built a lot of his wealth on real estate and assets would just kind of turn their back on something that's done so well for them.
Bro. I honestly, I wouldn't take it too seriously. I think he's just trolling because I remember when we've talked with him in interviews I've seen, he's always been very pro precious metal. He actually advocates for silver more than gold because silver is actually something you can barter with versus gold you hold on to. So
right.
I think he's just trolling. Bro.
I think if it was real, he probably got paid to do it, in my opinion.
Could be, yeah. It could be some clickbait stuff. I mean, listen, a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon now, I always say this. Listen, it could go to the moon, it could go to 1 million, it could go down. But I always look at it this way: if in 10 years there's no crypto, like Bitcoin was gone, I don't know how would people be completely surprised. I don't know if they would be, but I know for a fact if gold and silver were not around, they'd be surprised. And so, you got to have some assets that are really safe. You got to have some assets that you feel comfortable with. And, our clients, when they get gold and silver and they, put in their safe and they have it, they feel more comfortable. They have some control in their life. And that's the one thing that you're never going to have with those cryptos. I mean, you can't put it in your hand. You can't hold it. You could take this anywhere in the world and it has value. There's always going to be those issues with crypto in terms of, will people accept it? Will they want it? In some ways it's still digital. It's not, the end all be all in terms of currency. And so those are the things that you have to kind of keep in mind when you're doing this. And I think ultimately most people, when they're investing, they got to have some assets they feel really safe and good about. And look, I mean, it's like, when you have any business, you're going to have some stuff you're going to hit some rocket ship and some home runs on, and you want some singles and doubles. And for me, I like having a lot of singles and doubles in my portfolio.
All right. I got a question. What are your thoughts on, obviously, Trump is anti-war, right? We know that when conflicts are around, precious metals go up in value. Do you foresee the price of precious metals potentially going down off of conflict resolution?
Well, his strategy is economic coercion, right? That's why we're talking about tariffs. That's how he typically wants to resolve issues, and I think it's a good strategy. I mean, it's one element that I hope that he'll avoid any kind of conflict over the next 4 years. But you can't stop what's happening globally. I mean, the Russia-Ukraine war is still happening. There's everything happening in the Middle East. I mean, there's wars happening all over the world, which we're not always involved in. I mean, I think, really the war that he's going to have to tackle, the biggest thing he needs to tackle, if he really wants to fix anything, is to fix our debt. If he can get a situation where we can spend less or even at par from what we bring in, that would be the greatest achievement in his presidency, is to balance our budget. And I mean, right now we create $1 trillion in debt every 90 days. So, that's the biggest war that we have in this country. And that's the biggest wealth transfer moment that he could have. is create more of an even playing field for regular people. The debt transfer, all this debt is a win for the top 1%, for the wealthy. They know how to leverage on debt. Regular people don't. So it's one of those things where if we could get our currency under control, where we're not in a situation where, the whole world is de-dollarizing and trying to get away from our currency, that would be the biggest accomplishment as a president. I think that, yes, there's other things that he's going to get done, but I am concerned more than anything about our debt and the idea that eventually people will stop buying our treasury bonds, that people won't loan us money. Those are things that we really have to be careful of. We are the world's reserve currency. It does give us a strategic advantage, but nothing's to say that we could lose that status. Eventually, maybe we're not the world's reserve currency, and then what happens? So I think that there's more to the strength of precious metals than just, that it's a safe haven in wars. It's also a safe haven from the stock market. And our stock market's almost near an all-time high at this point. And as I mentioned, a lot of the wealth in the stock market is built into, 7 or 8 tech companies, which makes me nervous. So I think it's.
Can you explain to the audience why it being put into the tech companies has you a bit nervous? Can you explain that to the audience real fast?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not just tech companies. It's just the amount of companies, right? If you go back to the 1970s, mm-hmm. in our stock market, they had a thing. It's called the Nifty 50, and so there was 50 companies that really dominated the stock market, and they're names that like IBM and Xerox, like household name companies, and that's a safer market, right? The 70s, because you have 50 companies that have the majority of the wealth. Now we have 7 companies. So when you say that the risk is diversified, it's not today. It used to be, because there was more companies. They had more, the market share was spread out. And so I think what it comes down to is it's just a diversification of risk, right? When you look at it as a whole and you go, wow, look at this market cap of NVIDIA, and you compare that to the 100 companies below it. I mean, they have the majority of the market cap in terms of the stock market, heavily weighted. So if those top 7 have a bad year, the stock market can be down 30, 40% pretty easily. So that for me, doesn't feel like a security blanket that, you hear out that the stock market's safe and everything's going to be fine. Those are the things that don't make me feel comfortable. So also you have the real estate market. You guys are into real estate. I mean, the Fed lowered interest rates last year 100 basis points, right? They used to be able to drop interest rates like that, and the market would drop, interest rates would drop, but they didn't. What happened to interest rates? They actually went up. So that's a sign to the market that basically saying like inflation is still here. They're still buying these bonds, and they weren't able to reduce the 30-year mortgage. They weren't able to get rates down. The 30-year mortgage actually went up. It's over 7%. Those are pretty scary signs that our economy's in a bad place, because if the Fed doesn't have that tool anymore, their options are much more limited in how they can affect the economy. And so a lot of people believe this year they might even raise rates. And real estate's already in the toilet right now. If they raise rates, I mean, it could get really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be really dangerous. And people out there that are borrowing money, corporations that are borrowing money, they don't want rates to go up. But if inflation continues to go up, the last inflation report was at 2.7%. If inflation keeps moving up, they're going to be forced. They're going to have to raise rates. So I think that there's some pretty concerning factors out there. And this is all what President Trump is going to have to combat in his first year. And these are difficult times to come in. Tremendous heavy debt, high interest rates, a lot of signs of potential recession that are out there. And all that will trickle down to the day-to-day consumer, and things are going to get more expensive. And, these are things that people have to think about. So that's why I think that, silver will be the big winner this year. I think that you're going to see some pretty big gains in silver. It hasn't moved up as much as gold has moved the last few years. The silver to gold ratio is at a 90-1. So it costs 90 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. If you go back the last 100 years, that ratio was like 50 to 1. So even if gold didn't move up $1, that means silver would be in the few $100 range today. So there's some pretty interesting signs for silver, and then just solar panel growth, demand. So I think it's a pretty exciting year for silver. So I think silver is going to hit 35, 36 this year pretty easily. And that's unless, we don't have that black swan event, then I think it'll move much higher than that.
No, interesting perspective there that, the 7 tech companies that you mentioned, between that not being diversified enough in your opinion and the interest rates going up with real estate, these can all be, I guess, catalysts for increasing the value of silver. I didn't look at it that way. And when you're talking about these 7 companies, we're talking about the tech companies, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. The big 7. Yeah. This is the year of the wealth transfer. I mean, you saw what happened in the LA fires. That's a massive transfer of wealth that's going to happen. I'm in the Los Angeles area, so I know people already. A lot of those lots are selling. People are just saying, forget it. I can't wait 4 years. So a lot of people that bought good real estate in a good area, but just don't have the ability to hang on, are being forced to sell. And, corporations are going to come in, wealthy people are going to come in and buy those lots. It's a massive transfer of wealth. And I think the government's going to buy some of those lots too. And start to push some of their agenda by acquiring some of those lots here. But yeah, I mean, these are the interesting things that happen, the horrific things that happen where, people are put into a really bad situation, and then they lose their biggest asset, right? For most people their home was
retirement too.
Retirement. I mean, everything that they were kind of building towards. And now, you're beholden to the government that, let's be honest, they should have protected those people in those areas in a much better way. I mean, California has the highest tax. California and New York have the highest state tax in the country. So how could they not protect these 2 areas? These people are paying massive taxes plus property taxes. Like, how did they not protect these citizens from this wildfire that they knew about? I mean, it was no mystery. So these things are happening, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it feels like there's an agenda there to take assets away from people. And really, in this new economy, assets are the key. They're really the key to everything. And you have to have assets under your belt to protect yourself against, these kind of horrific situations. But yeah, I'm seeing just terrible things happening in this, and, I'm hearing, real estate guys coming in, making low ball offers and all these things happening. And, it's the wild, wild west. That's what's going to happen. Some people need money, they don't want to wait. They don't want to wait for the insurance. They're just going to sell early and get out. And unfortunately, some of those people are going to get taken advantage of, and they're going to lose, a pretty valuable asset. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to have to live somewhere anyway. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of these things happening where these, they're trying to shift assets away from regular people. And that's why I was saying, this increase in interest rates, the movement of the money. I mean, it's really, you have to protect yourself with, real things. That's why these things are so valuable. So you can weather the storm, of some of these catastrophes that are happening out there. So it's a pretty unnerving time in the economy, in my opinion.
For somebody watching that wants to protect themselves from what's happening or what's coming pretty soon, how should they, I guess, disperse their wealth? Obviously, you recommend precious metals, but in your humble opinion, how should they prepare for what's coming next?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few different ways. Number one, you have to have the ability to withstand the storm. So whether you have precious metals or you have some cash, you need to have some ability to ride things out during this kind of time. So, you need to have reserves in place. You need to be able to access capital so you can see, if there's any opportunities around. The other thing that you have to do to protect yourself just overall is you need to be diversified into other assets. I mean, people forget the stock market went through 2 really tough years. Real estate's been been down for at least 2 years. I think we have another 2 years. So if you had all your money in the stock market during those 2 years ago and you were in trouble and you needed money, you were selling stocks at a reduced price. Now, if you have your money in real estate and all of it's in real estate and you have to sell, you're selling at a reduced price. So it's really good to be diversified. That's why I think having assets like gold and silver are really important, because there's no debt behind these assets. So if you found an opportunity today, you could liquidate these and acquire assets.
Real quick, Colin, where should I buy gold nowadays? Like, where should I buy gold and silver?
Yeah, I mean, Noble Gold is I think we are unique in that we sell bullion, coins, and bars. We're getting them at unbelievable prices. We've done $2 billion in sales over the last 8 years. So we've sold a lot of gold and silver. So we get it at a tremendous price. And we really have simplified it into the products that have the highest weight, the highest purity, and they're the ones that you can sell back anywhere in the world, including back to us. But you're not going to get into any funny coins that are so specific that you can't sell them. So we really pride ourselves on focusing on products that you can liquidate anywhere in the world, but are going to get you the most value and the most bang for your buck. So I would say with us, if you're looking for a dealer that has a two-way street, you can buy and sell. I think Noble Gold is really, the only choice.
What if I don't want to have physical gold? I just want digital.
Yeah. We could store it for you. I think that the thing when people say that to me, and I understand it, is you can buy gold on the stock market. It's fine, but you're not buying real gold, and you're just buying a share of a company. So we can store gold and silver for you in our Texas depository. It's segregated, but you're still going to get the same gold and silver that we would ship to you. And in my opinion, that's the only way to do it, because the only way to know that you actually own it is that it's real gold and silver. If you buy it digitally, you're just buying a fraction. And what people don't realize a lot of times is they think, oh, I'm getting it at a good price. But if you buy fractionally every month, you're going to end up paying way more money than if you buy it in full at one time. Because what these companies do is like fractional stocks. They charge you a fee every time. And then when you sell, they're charging you a fee every time. So those fees over months and months and years end up being 10, 20, 30, 50 times more than what a dealer like me would charge you. So it's important, in my opinion, to buy full ounces of silver. And, even with gold, you can get down to a gram or 5 grams. Buy the whole thing. That's how you're going to get the most value and really know that you have what you're buying. And at the end of the day, I think that there's so few assets you actually control in your life. And this asset, you own it and you control it. And so, yeah, you could go the digital way and it's easy, but sometimes having like the real thing in times of, difficult times of desperation, you're going to want the real thing and not the digital form of something, if that makes sense.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. Real quick, we have some chats here, some regular questions. Someone asked about converting gold to silver. Is it worth it?
I would do it. Yeah, it depends. I mean, we've had that. I don't know if I mentioned this to you. We've had a lot of that happening over the last 12 months, but we had specifically a client last year that bought gold from us right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then converted their gold to silver and they had made a significant profit. A high 6-figure profit.
Really?
And they moved their gold into silver because they believe that silver's, got a lot of room to run. So I think if you've had a big profit and you believe silver, it's a good idea. If you just got into gold, I wouldn't do it. I think you should just add more silver. But if you had a big profit in gold and you're like, hey, I doubled my money, what do I think could double next? I think going into silver makes a lot of sense. Okay,
so that was USA Made. He asked, should I be converting my gold to silver? And the Egon's A says, where would you buy silver and gold? What do you think about Costco gold and Costco WFNF?
Costco is fine, except that you can't sell back to Costco. And what people don't realize is that when you end up selling gold back, if you didn't buy and sell with the same dealer, they can charge you anything. And so, I've seen people get, 20% below the market price on a liquidation.
Yeah.
And so it might feel good to buy it from Costco because it's kind of easy and, you buy your TV and then you get your ounce of gold. But we're selling the same products. We know what products people are buying. And I think that you're going to want a two-way street. And also you want someone that specializes in these things, which is what we do. So yeah, I mean, if you want to buy, 6 tubs of ice cream, I'd say go to Costco. But if you want to get into somebody that really does this every day, I think you buy from a dealer, someone like us.
It's funny. So I buy jewelry sometimes, and I found that if I buy jewelry with a relationship, it goes way further. So for example, I could buy jewelry from one jewelry store, right? But I don't know them that well. But if I build that connection with somebody, if I buy jewelry today, 4 months later, I go back to that person. Oh, I know you, bro. Like, we did business together. I'll give you a
100%.
good deal on that. So that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get a better deal. You're going to get a better buyback. Yeah. I mean, it's all relationship business, and also just the trust. There's a trust level that we've built, we've sold over $2 billion. We've shipped over $1.2 billion. Like, we've been doing this for a long time. We get great prices. We know what the products to buy are. We test everything. I've seen horror stories where people bought off eBay or they bought off these places and they're, oh my God, the price is good. And then they buy it, they don't get it checked. And then 5 years later, they find out that it's fake. So, these are things that if it's too good to be true, it typically is. So you want to buy from someone that's a specialist in the business.
How can you tell when gold is fake or real?
You can test it. You can get it tested. We have machines at our depositories that test it. I think last time I met with you guys, I brought this in. You can also typically tell by the weight. Yeah, the weight, especially like if you held this is heavy. This is 2.2 pounds. Yeah, you can feel the weight. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's people that got taken advantage of, and that's another reason you want to go with a reputable dealer. There are horror stories of people that bought, I've heard stories of people, I got 10 ounces of gold and I got it below the spot price and I got this and I got that. And it turns out that, 9 were real and 1 was fake. And well, guess what? That deal didn't turn out so great for you. So, penny wise, pound foolish, right? You got to be smart. And, but yeah, we test everything. We, verify everything. We buy from all the large mints too. So you'll know that it's, you're getting the real deal when you buy from us.
Okay. Makes sense. We got more chat set, Bills? No? Okay. So I guess what I want to bring up is, let's say I'm looking in the market. I want to get gold and silver. I buy from you. When should I sell my gold and silver? Is there
great question.
Or
no, I think there is a time to sell it. I think that what you have to look at is where the market is at that point. And I think that the time to sell it would be when our currency is looking good again, when our debt is under control, when our spending is under control. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the reason you're buying gold is you're protecting yourself against our fiat money. You're protecting yourself against the dollar. You're protecting yourself against our debt. So I would say until our debt is under control, until our currency is under control and it feels like we're in a more stable place, until that happens, gold and silver are going to be a very safe bet. I mean, if you compare the S&P 500 from 2001 and you compare gold has actually outpaced the S&P 500. So I think that it's one of those things that it's a case by case and a time by time basis. But I still think until this debt problem is under control and we're not printing money like crazy, I still think gold and silver are going to do great. But sometimes we've had clients this year that they've doubled their investment in gold.
Durayal_Frank Castle 512 tip $35. I got 10K right now to buy gold. I've bought 15K worth of gold chains. Where can I order from him?
Okay, so somebody asked a question. This is the real Frank Castle. It says, I got 10K right now to buy gold. I bought 15K worth of gold chains. Where can I order from you?
Yeah, check out Noble Gold Investments. Just give us a call.
There should be a link down below in the
yeah, there
right?
should be a link there. Be careful. A lot of people think gold chains are valuable, and you got to be careful because a 14, this is 24 karat gold, right? So if you buy a 14 karat gold chain, it's much less pure than this one is. You're going to get a substantial reduction, and depending on what you paid, there's a lot of markup in jewelry. So I always tell people, don't think jewelry is an investment. It's if you like it, it feels good, great. But typically, the commissions or the spreads on jewelry could be 50%. It could be 300%. And I've seen it. I have a lot of friends that own pawn shops. I see how the numbers work. There's an unbelievable Tiffany is like unbelievable markup in Tiffany products. So I just don't think a chain is going to get you that return. There could be some gold value there later, but if you're looking to do investment, I think you got to buy 24 karat gold. There are chains that are 24 karat and you could do okay. But don't expect a 14 karat gold chain to have tremendous value down the road.
So if anyone buys anything that's gold, it's got to be 24 karat. Don't even bother with the 14 karat, 10 karat, all this other stuff. 24 karat or bust.
That's what I mean. It's softer. So you could, they typically make rings that are not 24 karat because just for scratching and scuffing. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at it as an investment, then you want to go 24 karat or bust. Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's a good tip because a lot of people will sit there and buy something that's gold and they'll buy 14 karat because that exact reason, because it's 24 karat is too soft. They want the jewelry to last. But what they don't realize is that they inadvertently kind of spend a bit of money that they didn't need to, and it's not holding as much value as they think. And so if you're going to go ahead and buy jewelry from an investment perspective, it's got to be 24 karat or above.
Yeah. Also, whenever you buy jewelry, it's going to have its weight, of course, but you got to melt it down to get a real price because this, like jewelry itself, it doesn't have the real value. It's going to be melted down first, then you go to the jeweler and it'll give you the money for the gold melted
Correct.
down.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. So that's one way to buy from us. The other way is just IRAs, 401ks. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening. You have an old 401k that you forgot about from a company. You can roll those into gold and silver with us. We do that for clients. You're buying the gold and silver, but you're just doing it in a tax divert vehicle, which we can handle for you. So nice. It's another way for people to do it. I've had a lot of people like, I have this old 401k with 20,000. Like I got this new one with my new company. And that's great because the new one with your new company is going to be in the stock market, and the old one you can decide to put into gold and silver and diversify. So that's a real advantage with some of those different retirement accounts. And so many people have left jobs and, I forgot I got 10,000, 15,000 in this IRA, what should I do with it? And I think it's a really good idea to diversify, get some of that money out of the stock market and protect yourself with a little gold and silver.
Oh, nice. I see we just got a chat right here. It's probably going to be Texas.
_Frank Castle 512 tip $50. I want to buy one of those plates to be able to use it as a piece on one of my chains, rolling on the floor laughing. I'm just joking. Thanks to you guys for giving us this info. Love your content, my brothers.
Yo, Colin, could you imagine someone wearing that gold plate as a pendant on their necklace? That's insane, bro.
Which one are you talking about? What gold plate? What are you talking about?
The one you have right there.
This?
Yeah, imagine wearing that as a pendant on your chain and walking around like that. That's crazy, bro.
Or what about a grill?
Oh, hell no. Bro, no offense to anybody, but you know what I hate to see? When niggas show up to a club or restaurant wearing a gold Cuban chain. I'm like, bro, that's some nigga shit, man. Just saying, bro.
Yeah, man.
Have some diamonds at least, bro. Have some class. I'm just saying, bro. It's weird. Sorry, Colin. I just said get out there.
That's okay.
But it's weird, bro.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Oh man, have some class.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you're doing. I mean, this is why I keep this cash, because it's like you're just converting. I remember. I mean, this is about 800 1,000. Like, you're just swapping this for this, right? I mean, that's all you're really doing. This is going down in value, and this is going up in value. I mean, that's really. I remember when $800 $1,000 was really, that was a lot of money, right?
Calling.
But now it's
cash battle. You want
barely dinner.
Cash battle, bro. Cash battle.
What'd you say?
Cash battle.
Cash battle. You got more cash. You got more cash there. I'm sure you did.
No, I'm just kidding, bro.
I don't keep much cash. I'm all in gold and silver. You know what I mean?
Smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah. The days. I think what we've kind of, and I would say this has been even more pronounced ever since 2020. And we've printed out the enormous amount of money that we printed out. I think nowadays, everyone's goal should be to take your fiat currency and put it into something that's going to preserve, or better yet, increase the value of that money. At least bare minimum, preserve it, if not increase it. And I think at this point, right, holding a bunch of fiat currency is just not in your best interest outside of maybe like an emergency savings account. But other
Yeah.
than that, man, like I think everyone's goal here should be have your 6 months to 1 year of savings that you can pull out at any time, and then on top of that, your money's got to go to assets, man, because fiat currency is absolutely a waste.
Colin, could you break down? I want to say the top 5 things people should not put money into. For example, cars. You know.
Oh yeah.
Clothes.
Anything fractional. I think any investment fractional I would avoid. What about Nikes, shoes? I mean, these shoes. I saw the shoe craze.
Oh,
I'd stay watches.
there was a guy in LA that was in his house burned down. He had over 100 pairs of shoes. Some worth $5K, $10K, Nike, all these like special
He was a
shoes,
sneaker collector.
and they all burned down.
Yeah.
All the money's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lady too that had crypto on a ledger,
Oh,
and
shit.
she lost her ledger, and I think there was like 400,000 or 500,000 on that ledger in crypto.
And you mentioned watches. I agree. Even though that I am a fan of Rolex.
Durayar_Frank Castle 512 tip $35.
What do you say?
Fresh but why diamonds? Just curious. I've done research and heard they don't hold value like gold. That's why I didn't want to spend a lot on a ring for my wife. Can you tell me why buy diamonds over gold? Colin, an advice on that?
You know, Colin, I'll let you answer that
Real
one.
quick, yeah, we'll have him answer that one. But what I was going to say when it comes to the watches, watches have went down in value a lot, guys. And unless you're getting like a plain Jane Rolex that holds value that a lot of people want, most of the time they're not going to hold value that well. That's why, if you are going to go ahead and buy yourself a Rolex or an AP, make sure you buy a plain Jane, not with diamonds on it, a model that, is very popular, so that way it'll hold value as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, watches in many cases are not a good investment. You got
Listen, here's the thing is that if you have other assets already, okay, you buy the watch, right? But what I've seen a lot of times happen is that the watch is like the first thing to buy.
Yeah, stupid.
Or the car is the first thing to buy.
Agreed, stupid.
And it should be, I just bought a decent watch the last like 2-3 years. I didn't even like watching this, the run up in the Rolexes. I couldn't believe, because they're not limited supply, most of these watches, right? That's the thing I couldn't understand. Like gold and silver, there's only enough gold in the whole world to fit in 2.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools, right?
Wow.
These Rolexes, there's no limit. They're making a ton of these. So I couldn't understand what was driving it. And then I should have realized it was all tech crypto money buying these watches. That's all it was. It was just people that felt rich, right? And at the end of the day, they weren't really rich. They didn't really have any assets. They were just buying, things that they thought. And then when they were going up, it gave them an excuse to buy those things. But you should have, you should have a lot of money in gold and silver. You should have a lot of money in assets. You should be building a business. All of those things should be coming first before you buy any of those things. And I feel bad for a lot of those people there's a lot of people in these houses in LA and all over that had a lot of wealth in shoes, in artwork that wasn't insured, in purses.
Yeah.
Right. And they think those things, and they want to justify those things as investments. And sometimes they are, but at the end of the day, like you have to have a buyer on the other end too. Right. And at the end of the day, like, are people always going to pay a certain amount of money for a Birkin bag? Like, I don't know. It's just based on what they're willing to pay for it. Whereas it's a global market and they need it for industry. Even if worst case, they didn't keep it in this form, they'd melt it down and put it in jewelry. They'd melt it down, or they'd use it in heart monitors, or they'd melt it down and they'd use it in something else. Mm-hmm. Same thing with this, right? So that's the problem with some of these investments that are out there. They're not really investments, as you guys know. I mean, you guys, I'm sure you've seen the last few years, people around you that gained a little bit of wealth and they put it in all the wrong things. And then when they get in trouble, they don't have any liquidity because nobody wants a lot of these assets, these things that they bought. Also, they just haven't gone up. Like the fact that people bought gold for me 3-4 years ago and it doubled, it puts them in a really strong power position, right? Because now they can go, okay, I bought 50,000 in gold. Now it's worth 100,000. Maybe I'll buy this business, or maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll turn my gold to silver, and I'll take the silver ride up. It just gives you opportunity, right?
Oh, that's a good point. So real quick, we got any more chats here, Bill, before I ask my next question? Any more chats? No? One
Oh,
more.
I never answered the question about the ring.
Yes.
Yes, diamond,
And
diamond
diamonds.
versus gold. Yeah.
Diamonds.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. If you don't want to buy her a ring, you should just say it. Don't say it's the price of diamonds, because it seemed like there was more going on there. Well, diamonds, now that there's manufactured diamonds, the diamond values have fallen like a rock. I mean, so I think you made the right decision. But at some point, if you're going to get married, your person's going to want a ring, and it's just you're just doing it because you love them and you want to show them how much you love them. But whether it's a real diamond or it's manufactured, they look identical. And so I know a lot of people now that are having heart-to-heart conversations and saying, listen, I can buy you this ring for 20,000, or I can buy the same ring for 5,000. It looks like 4,000 and it looks the same and nobody will know. We could put that 15,000 into gold and silver. And a lot of these people are making the right choice. So yeah, the diamond business, don't think of diamonds as an investment. It's just going to get worse and worse in that space.
Yeah, you just let the cat out the bag, man. Because people use a lot of diamonds now. They don't use real diamonds, like natural.
Yeah.
They use
Yeah,
lab.
exactly.
Lab.
Oh, lab diamonds. Okay.
They look the exact same.
Wow.
You can't really
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah, exactly. And then they just tell their wife, we don't need to get insured. Don't worry.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's fine. You can take it anywhere. Don't worry. It'll be fine. We're good. Yeah.
So imagine
Yeah. I mean,
you're marrying your
jewelry
wife,
too.
you go buy her a ring. It really costs like $5,000, but on paper it's $40,000.
Mhm.
You're like, babe, I got you this $40,000 ring. I love you so much. She's like, oh my God, I love you. It's really $5,000. Like, you didn't pay that much money for it. But it's kind of like finesse. But yeah.
As long as it looks shiny and
Yeah,
pretty.
it's shiny, you know?
Yeah, bro. Diamonds is such
Yeah.
a fucking.
And the
Yeah,
reason why
that's-
I don't like Cubans that are just like gold, because, okay, bro, every nigga in Miami that's hood nigga wears, sorry, my language. Every black guy in Miami that wears gold Cubans have a stereotype, bro. And unfortunately, bro, I don't even put in that category. So that's why
Yeah.
they're diamonds. Anyhow, we got some
No,
more
I'm
chats
with you.
here. GGG channel says, stay away from jewelry if you plan on investing in gold and silver, because when I can't see that end part there. Because when you get away under melt price, SD Bullion is a great place to buy gold and silver from. Stay away from high premium precious metals as well, unless you want to collect them. Silver and gold is not a quick way to get rich. It's more like a savings. What say you, Colin? Agree, disagree?
It's, I mean, people have gotten pretty wealthy over the last 4 years in gold and silver, but yeah, I don't think that's the long-term strategy. It's more of a defensive strategy, I would say. I think the bigger opportunity is absolutely in silver right now. If you're looking for opportunity, silver is the play. The upside potential is much higher. You can look at the charts, check out my book. My book's $14.95 on Amazon. You can read about it. I lay out a pretty strong case. But I think it's,
I think if
the
people aren't buying
growth-
silver, they're crazy, dude. Like, guys, even me, right? You guys know I'm real hardcore into real estate. Obviously, I'm in crypto as well. But I have a couple ounces of silver because you need to have precious metals. I mean, I think every guy that is serious about their financial future should have some, precious metals. For me, it's silver. If you want to go a little bit harder, you can get some gold, because gold is absolutely is always going to hold value. But I think anyone that is serious about protecting themselves and insuring themselves against fiat currency, you got to have some precious metals, man. At least silver, guys.
Yeah.
At least get a couple ounces of silver.
Yeah, give us a call. I think, people should call us. They should learn about it, get the free guides, talk to somebody at our company, and just see if it's something for you. I always say, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So give us, the call's free, the information's free. So give us a call and see if it's something right for you. Talk to a live person. Everyone at our company you're going to talk to, they own gold and silver. They've been buying it for a long time. They're experts. So talk to some people and get some free information and see if it's you. If it's not for you, great. But at the end of the day, you will like who you talk to. They're going to give you good information. They're going to treat you well. And ultimately, you'll decide if it's the right investment for you.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, I think every man should focus on having one Bitcoin, several ounces of silver, right? Maybe one real estate property, and 3 to 6 months of savings. If you guys could get there, you're going to be in a fantastic position, better than 99% of Americans, man.
Yeah.
But I absolutely think that every guy should be having a few ounces of silver bare minimum, man.
That way, if you diversify,
Absolutely.
you don't lose your ass on one asset.
Yeah, bro. Like, guys, it's so important to have that, man. Index funds, etc. Like we tell you guys all the time, diversify, be in every market class. And I would say when it comes to precious metals, at least have silver, guys. At least, man.
I mean, if you watch our Money Mondays episodes, you would have at least amassed a bunch of assets that you could take part in, you know?
Yeah, precious metals is no different, man.
Yep.
Look, I get it. Gold might be a little bit high of a barrier to entry for a lot of you guys, but absolutely all of you guys can get in started with silver. At least.
Yeah.
I got silver too.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it's funny that you guys said, because I remember when I started in the business, gold was at 800, and people said the same thing about gold at $800 an ounce too. So it always feels expensive because it's desirable. That's the thing. Like, you know, Bitcoin at 100,000. Like, if you'd said that 10 years ago, people would have thought you were crazy. So it's interesting with gold. It's always been said to be expensive until it's at the price that it's supposed to be.
Actually,
right?
I remember two fellas that came on a podcast, Charlie and Miguel, said Bitcoin's going to be 100K almost 2 years ago, and everyone laughed at them.
Right.
Look.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
now look, it's happened.
Yep.
Yeah. Alternative
Bitcoin right now is
assets are where
101.
it's at. It's
I just looked it up.
100% where it's at.
Bitcoin's
So-
basically at 101, almost 102,000 right now. Someone asked a good question in here, Colin. They said, "What about getting silver ETFs? What are your thoughts on that?"
You can get silver, you know, from a dealer at such a good price. I don't see the benefit. If you're day trading or you wanted to, like, you know, take advantage of the volatility, but most of the people buy silver are not in that vein. So it's okay. I don't think you know how much silver they're backing. You know, you don't know if COMEX has enough silver. I've heard reports that they have like it's 1 to 100 in terms of backing. So I don't think it makes sense to do it in this asset class. I mean, I would just start stacking as soon as you can. And that's a much better way to build a portfolio.
I agree. I think this is one of the few things where, having an ETF doesn't replace actually having the hardcore asset in your hand. I think when it comes to silver and, you can make the argument, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and get a REIT for real estate, right? Because I don't want to deal with tenants and all this other bullshit and it gives good dividends. Fine. You can make the argument for REITs, right? But I think when it comes to precious metals, guys, the benefit of the precious metal is actually holding the precious metal, having it in a safe. Like me, myself, I got a bunch of silver. I have it, stashed away in my safe with some cash. I think you need that. That's the beauty is actually physically having it, man. So I think with the ETF with silver kind of defeats the purpose.
What's the code?
Exactly. Yeah. And a REIT, it makes sense because you don't have any work. Like when you buy a property, there's work, right? There's no work to this. You buy it and you just stock it away. So
Real quick, we got another question from the real Frank Castle. He says, here we go.
What do you say? Oh,
TTS.
let's see what he says.
Well, is he going to talk right now?
Is he going to say, can we play?
Durayal_Frank Castle 512 tip $50. 2. I only ask cause I watched that show, Adam Ruins Everything. And he says there really isn't a shortage of diamonds, just the industry allows a certain amount into the country to cause inflation on them.
Who's Adam?
Yeah, I don't know who he's talking about.
he's right. Yeah, there is no shortage of diamonds. I agree.
100%. That is very true. That's what they tell you, but amen. It's a finesse. We got up next Lord Malachi. He says, Seal Network in the building. CC Premium members, I'm organizing the hosting, so hit me up on Telegram. Yes, if you need a place to stay during the meetup, hit him up on Telegram, Lord Malachi, a.k.a. Bafe.
Yep.
Girlfriend Cat.
February 22nd, guys. Free event for all premium members. All CastleClub members join in.
Link down below, right?
Yep.
Link down below. Daryl Frank says, what happened to my TTS? Don't worry, bro. We got you, bro.
We just showed it.
Thanks for the support, bro. We got you. Marine, is there an average or recommended standard split to invest in gold and silver? As in, how much percentage out of 100 gold and silver?
Good
WFNF,
question.
Big Mo,
That's a
and
good question.
cents. What cents?
Well, we got the expert for you.
It is a good question. I what I'm seeing at Noble Gold, our percentages is about 65% silver, 35% gold right now is our split.
Roughly 3 to 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing with our clients. So I think it's a good ratio, but I also have been seeing a lot of people just going all in on silver over the last few months, just because where the price is. I like both. I own both metals. I'm heavy on silver right now. So I think at the end of the day, like there will be a time and a place, even if you start with silver, it's your first purchase. It's a great time to get in. And then I think there'll be a place for you to acquire gold, and having those two metals to complement each other is a great way to invest. But most people today are going heavier silver.
What about copper and platinum?
Platinum we sell platinum. Small amount, very small percentage of our clients are buying it. Copper is great. I think copper and silver typically kind of go together in terms of price. Copper's gone up a lot over the last few years. It's used in so many industries. So I do like copper. We don't sell it, but it is a good investment. I do like the price of copper where it's sitting today.
Okay, awesome. All right, Colin. So this has been an insightful, valuable interview. I hope you guys have gained a value here. What advice do you give to someone, I guess, now to end off this? For example, how to prepare what's coming next? Because I think that with Trump being in office, good things are happening, but also things are coming in a more wealth transfer way that if you're not ready for it, it could take you out or make you rich. But what would you say to start or to prepare for this upcoming event?
Well, his economic policies are high growth, high inflation. That's really the only way to look at it. When you look at tariffs, you look at cutting taxes. If you look at trying to get rates down, which he's trying to force Powell to bring rates, these are all things for high growth. He's trying to buy Greenland. He's trying to buy these assets. He's negotiating. So this isn't a strategy of a slow growth strategy. He's trying to go high growth and kickstart things, which I think every businessman tries to do. But all of those strategies, everything he's do will lead to inflation. And so at the end of the day, you do have to have assets that protect yourself against inflation and find opportunities. And there will be alternatives in the alternatives. In my book, I get into that a lot. I also not only talk about gold and silver, but I also have a real estate strategy in my book. It's called Satellite City Strategy, where I talk about opportunities in cities that are outside within 40 to 50 miles of major cities. And there's I name a lot of the cities in the book that I recommend. And I've actually bought properties in 2 of the cities in my list. So there will be high growth opportunities. So I think with this new administration, you have to look at high growth opportunities and protecting yourself against inflation. And if you do those things, you're going to do great. And so that's the thing that you have to really look for over the next few years, is really protecting yourself and protecting your downside risk. And as much as some of these assets have really gone through the moon, there is no downside risk in a lot of these assets people are invested into. But I do think there is downside risk in precious metals because they do have utility. So you want some high growth strategies, and you got to have some asset preservation, some insurance. So for anybody out there that looks interested in what we've been talking about, give us a call at Noble Gold Investments. We got free guides. You can talk to a live person. You can ask all the questions you want, and you're going to talk to a real person, not a bot. And we're going to help you and see if this is something that's right for you.
Yeah, I've seen billionaires start buying luxury bunkers as a way to kind of like prepare for what's coming, but scary, man.
Yeah,
scary.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, I appreciate you guys. Good to be on. Good to talk to you guys.
No, absolutely, man. And guys, timestamps will be below, man. The links are below if you guys want to get involved. I genuinely do believe, at least, guys, pick yourself up some silver. I think that's one of the best ways to hedge against, obviously, the flailing dollar. And with the way that things are, man, you guys got to insulate yourself the best you can with multiple different asset classes, and silver is absolutely one of them. You don't got to get into gold. The barrier to entry, I know, is high for a lot of you, but silver is absolutely what's an ounce of silver running for right now?
It's doable, actually.
50, 60 bucks, 40 bucks?
30 bucks.
30 bucks, man. Fucking for the price of, going to dinner with a girl that probably don't even like you, you can go ahead and get yourself some silver. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Instead of taking her ass to Burger King, go ahead and make yourself the king, man, and get some goddamn silver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, we got TPC Films. Hey, Myron, off topic, but here's some names for your new live streams. Gains Unfiltered. 2, Breaking Gains. Hot Takes Only. 3, The Truth Gains Show.
I'll take a picture of that and save it.
Yeah.
Brother. Appreciate those different things. Mo will take a quick photo for me.
Yes.
But yeah, we definitely need a name to show something.
Mo Bing says, where do I buy tangible silver from? Noble Gold.
Noble Gold, bro. Link is below.
Link down below.
Get on with them. Like, they'll jump on the phone with you and answer any questions that you guys want, man. So we get our silver from. This is where we get our precious metals from. I got a bunch in my safe. I can fucking go grab it for y'all if you want. But
what's the code?
But yeah. But go ahead and get that silver, man. Get some, guys. Get a couple ounces, man. $30 is nothing. You guys can literally go ahead and invest in a couple ounces right now, $100.
Yeah.
Get yourself some silver, man. So, anything else?
I think that's the last chat, right? All right, good to go. Colin, where can I find you, brother?
Noble Gold Investments. Check out the book. Silver's the new oil. Yeah.
Link will be below to get the book, guys. It's only what, $12, $15, $20?
$14.
$14, man. Go ahead and get the book, guys. If you're iffy about the silver, instead of I don't know if I want to get any, read the book, $15, learn about it, and then go ahead and pull the trigger and learn about it after you learn about it. So,
all right,
cool. Guys, we'll be back with some lovely ladies. Probably around what time is it right now?
Probably 10.
Probably around 10ish. It depends on when Chris does it. But yeah,
Chris is aware.
Chris is aware. All right.
So
yeah, we'll probably go live somewhere between 10 and 11 p.m. guys.
Yep.
We'll, as soon as we have the event ready, we'll make it for you guys. Obviously, you guys know we're on fucking bimbo time, so that changes things. But Colin, thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. It's always great to have you. I learned a bunch myself. With guys, don't buy 20. The big takeaway for me is don't buy 14 karat gold, man. 24 karat or above. Otherwise, you're an idiot. So, guys, go check out his book, learn about silver, and then learn what you need to learn, and then go ahead and get invested in it, man. $30 for a fucking ounce is nothing, man. Get in there, guys.
Let's go.
Love you guys. Peace.
Peace.